ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकयः चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपरकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मद्गवीरपि गोपाल स्वीकुर्यात् कृपया यदि तदैवासां भयः भीत्वा हृष्येयुस्तत्प्रियाजनाः। My dear Lord Gopal, only if you accept my words as your cows, may they give sweet milk to provide enough pleasure to your pure devotees. This is how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur prays at the end of his 10th canto commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're very fortunate to come tonight together and glorify Srila Prabhupada in whatever small way that we can. It all started here. This is the unlikely birthplace of the Hare Krishna movement in the modern world, and great historic setting for the expansion of Krishna consciousness all over the world from 1965 on to the present day, and still expanding. I was not a part of the early history of this movement. I have to necessarily explain a little bit about my own history. I grew up in Los Angeles, just a few blocks away from our Los Angeles temple in West Los Angeles. And that temple was there since about 1969 or so, 68 maybe. And so I don't remember any time that I didn't know about the devotees, but we used to get books, being so close to the devotees. You can't be that close to devotees and not get books. So we had books, and we used to get prasadam sometimes, and we used to see them chanting, and so that's what I remember from my childhood. I'm probably one of the youngest of Prabhupada's disciples because I came when I was 15. Well, actually I came when I was 13 or 14, but they wouldn't let me join because I was too young. You can't join an ashram when you're only 13 or 14. So anyway, I was religious and I was interested in Hinduism. I'd become a vegetarian, and I was practicing yoga, and I started reading many books on spiritual life. And I was naturally confused by those books. I had even read many editions of Bhagavad Gita, but I frankly couldn't understand those editions. The simple reason being that the publishers didn't understand them either. And then I read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I was a little bit put off by the title because I thought, well, why does he think that his edition is the real Bhagavad Gita? There's so many other editions. But then I read it, and I realized that actually this edition only had the special Shakti that it could answer all questions and make a comprehensive presentation that was equally authoritative and just very clear and very obviously from a devotional viewpoint. And it was just far, far above anything else that I'd ever read. There was no stone left unturned by Srila Prabhupada. And then I recognized that the reason that the other books were not clear is because the authors were trying to obscure the message that Krishna is trying to communicate to Arjuna and through him to the rest of us. And so it was a great relief to hear what was very satisfying to my soul as well, the message of pure devotional service. And so I was very quickly convinced of it, and I actually started to adopt whatever practices I could of Krishna consciousness. I certainly started chanting. I remember being thrilled that I had, after many, who knows how many lifetimes of suffering in material existence in various planets and universes and species of life, finally I had come to receive this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I saw the beautiful picture of Krishna, and I thought, this is that same person who is embodied in the sound of the holy name. I had read Srila Prabhupada's books, and I had some grasp of the philosophy. And around 1975, I had to go to a private school, which was a little bit north of Los Angeles. And that was in a place where there were many spiritual seekers of some sort, artists, yogis, spiritualists of the 1970s type. And it was a pretty eclectic situation, but the school that I went to was founded by people like Jiddu Krishnamurti and Aldous Huxley, Annie Besant, like that. So, and there was a Sanskrit class being offered there as well, and so I took that Sanskrit class because I'd already heard about Bhagavad Gita and I'd already been confused by the Bhagavad Gitas that I'd read, and I thought, let me try to understand something. This is before I had really read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita seriously. And so that was my background, but in the next year, in 1976, I had been visiting the temple from time to time whenever I came to visit Los Angeles. But in 1976, in the spring of that year, one godbrother called me up at school. How do you do that in 1976? I myself didn't know the number that he called. So I don't know how he got the number, but somehow or other he found out the school's number, and they came and told me that you've got a phone call. So I assumed it was from my parents or somebody, but it was from a very kind godbrother who just went out of his way to extend Srila Prabhupada's mercy to me for no reason other than compassion. And he told me that, Srila Prabhupada is coming soon, in a few weeks. It would be very good if you can come and see Srila Prabhupada. And he explained that, things that I had also heard by then, because I had been reading Prabhupada's books. And, he said that Srila Prabhupada is getting older now. We don't know how many more opportunities you may have, and this could be the last one, and even 1/11 of a second association with a pure devotee is not comparable to any other kind of perfections. So you really should try to come. And so I took him seriously because I had some idea that it was very important for me to see Srila Prabhupada, and I was very eager to do so because his was the first Bhagavad Gita that I could actually understand. And so at some trouble I came to see Srila Prabhupada. This was in June of 1976, and in fact it turned out to be the last time that Prabhupada came to America. This was in Los Angeles. So he was there for about a week in that month, and I don't remember so much, and I wasn't able to go every day, but at least 3-4 times I saw him within that period that he was visiting. And I couldn't really get close because, number one, I was just a kid, really. I didn't even look like I was 14. But number two, everyone in the entire movement was coveting that association and trying to get close to Srila Prabhupada. It's not like it is now. And it was just impossible for me to get close to Srila Prabhupada, but I saw him. And that was my great fortune. And as soon as I saw him, I could instantly understand that this is a person who doesn't belong to this material plane. He's from some transcendental place. It was instantly clear. When Srila Prabhupada first came, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the temple in Los Angeles, but there's a mezzanine in the back, altar is in the front, and there's a good-sized temple room below. So I was on the mezzanine, had a bird's eye view of the whole temple room. And from the right side of the altar, there was a door that led to Srila Prabhupada's quarters. That door opened. And then the curtains came apart, and out walked Srila Prabhupada, surrounded by so many of his leading disciples, mainly sannyasis. But Srila Prabhupada was shining with some kind of effulgence that I can't really identify, but it was as if the sun god walked into the room. He was so bright. And it wasn't exactly a physical kind of brightness, and yet it was at the same time, and I can't explain why or how that was so, but that's what I experienced. And I know that many, many, many others have also said the same thing. That's just what it was like. And it was as if, it looked as if there were just spotlights on Srila Prabhupada. Somehow he was just extremely effulgent. And so instantly I could understand that he's not of this world, he's from some transcendental place. Although he didn't do anything that was really very extraordinary, somehow or other everything that he did became extraordinary because he was doing it. So all he did was he walked over and he paid his obeisances to the deities. 3 times he bowed down. He took Charanamritam, and then he slowly walked over to the Vyasasana, and he sat down, and then they began Guru Puja. I didn't know the words. I couldn't get close. I couldn't even see him. But I was there. And somehow or other, by the end of that kirtan, I found myself pretty close to Srila Prabhupada, about as far away as I am from those of you in the front row here. So it was a great fortune, but I was just so transfixed by Srila Prabhupada's uncommon demeanor and visage that I just, even though I knew the words to the song that he was singing, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, as we do before every class, even though I knew those words, I just could not remember them because I was just so mesmerized by Srila Prabhupada's appearance, his extraordinary appearance. And, like I said, his behavior wasn't really that extraordinary, but there was something extraordinary about him. It was hard to identify. So I listened to the class. This happened a few times. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was talking about the recently published 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Ajamila's story. And in particular, he was talking about how there are 13 witnesses to all the activities that we perform in this world. Various planets, various demigods, and Paramatma, and in this way, as it's described in the 6th canto. I couldn't get a lot out of Srila Prabhupada's lecture, although I did have some understanding of the philosophy, but I could not penetrate his Bengali accent. That was a real challenge because... Anyone Bengali here? No. Okay, so I can say it. In Hindi we will use a word like Naivedyam. But by the time it gets to Bengali, it becomes Noiveddo. And it's very hard to understand it. So, Guru Mukho Padma Bhakko Chidete Kori Aiko. This is the thing. So it was very hard for me to understand this. But again, I was satisfied to have that opportunity to sit in front of a pure devotee after who knows how many lifetimes and who knows how many different kinds of bodies, suffering in my long sojourn in material existence. I knew that this was the end of that long history of suffering, and I was just so relieved and so happy to have that opportunity. In his commentary on the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explains on the verse, Matchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam chashyanti charamanti cha. Anyone know that verse? It means, the thoughts of my pure devotees are always on me. They've given their lives to me. They are enlightening one another, and they converse about me. In this way they carry on, and they're satisfied and they enjoy. Tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that these two verbs in the end of the verse, tushyanti cha, ramanti cha, they actually mean different things, although they're very similar according to the dictionary. And he says that tushyanti means that the devotees are very, very satisfied that they have an opportunity to perform this kind of devotional service, or that they have the opportunity to associate with a pure devotee. That much we can understand even in the initial stages of devotional service. We can take satisfaction in the fact that we can come here to Bhakti, to this 26th Avenue, where it all began, and we can sit at the lotus feet of such a great personality who has done things for this world that even great predecessors like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not do. Srila Prabhupada was able to accomplish. It's really an extraordinary thing that Krishna consciousness is now being practiced by large numbers of people on every continent in the globe, and it's coming through the grace of Srila Prabhupada. Shrutakirti Prabhu, my elder godbrother, who had many, many years of association, daily association with Srila Prabhupada, he was accompanying Srila Prabhupada in his 1975 tour of the Western countries. That was the year before I saw him, the year before I joined. And he said that he could see that Srila Prabhupada was in a special mood, especially when they came to Caracas, Venezuela. Srila Prabhupada entered the temple. He found it to be full of Venezuelans, all chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra in great joy in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And Srila Prabhupada just burst into tears. He became so ecstatic to see not only that exhibition of the Leela of the Lord unfolding right in front of his eyes, but probably also, we can assume, Srila Prabhupada must have been so stunned and so humbled to recognize that it could only have happened through his agency. And so they were chanting, and Srila Prabhupada just burst into tears. Now, when I say he burst into tears, this needs explanation, because Shrutakirti said Srila Prabhupada was not exactly crying, but it's more like water was being shot from his eyes and wetting those who were 6 feet away, as if from a syringe. And that doesn't happen in this world, in case you haven't noticed. It's not an ordinary occurrence, but Shrutakirti got wet from this. He experienced it directly. Pratyakshapagamam dharmyam susukam kartam avyayam. He was very ecstatic to have this, to witness this revelation of divine love in Caracas, Venezuela in 1975. And then just a short while later, they came to the United States directly from South America. And when Srila Prabhupada came to Atlanta, Georgia, where I was just recently visiting also, there he came in front of Garnitai, still there, in Ponce de Leon Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And Srila Prabhupada sang this song, Parama Karuna Pahun Dvijan Nitai Gaurachandra. And he was explaining how Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are the most merciful forms of the Lord. And while explaining this, again the same thing happened. He felt the same ecstasy again, and he had the same ecstatic symptom again. And Shrutakirti Prabhu said that he was following Srila Prabhupada around the world from city to city, and he felt very strongly that Srila Prabhupada himself was stunned to see the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being fulfilled worldwide. And my own observation on this is that Srila Prabhupada, I'm assuming, I don't know, but Srila Prabhupada must have also been very stunned to realize that he was the agent of this change. So anyway, this is what it means. And when we have an opportunity to come and engage in devotional service like this, and especially to take the advantage of either Srila Prabhupada's personal association or to visit the places where Srila Prabhupada performed his many pastimes, such as this most famous of American kirtas, then we should consider ourselves very fortunate, and we should be very satisfied by that opportunity. Brahmanticha, of course, means in the same verse from 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that when we actually make advancement by following Srila Prabhupada's instructions, then we actually enjoy. And what do we enjoy? We enjoy the love of Godhead that Srila Prabhupada was exhibiting, and the love of Godhead that Srila Prabhupada was encouraging us to aspire for, and the love of Godhead that has been unfolding in the lives of all those who embraced Srila Prabhupada's instructions to any degree since 1965. And this is the greatest of all happiness. So Srila Prabhupada was here in Los Angeles, and I saw him for only a few days in that week that he was there. In the same way, I heard a few classes like that. But one memory sticks out, which is really the only personal interaction that I ever had with Srila Prabhupada. I never really received any personal instructions from Srila Prabhupada. I was never able to ask him any specific questions. I just didn't have that opportunity because, as I said, I was still living out at home outside, and I was also just so young that nobody took me seriously, and the opportunity just wasn't there. But the same godbrother who had called me to invite me there in the first place, he was sitting with me and giving me attention. And we were reading Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, I think it's volume 4, dealing with the activities of Madhavendra Puri. On the front lawn of the temple in Los Angeles. In those days there was a lawn now it's been paved over, but then I could see that his eyes became very wide because he was facing the temple, I was facing the street. His eyes became very wide, and he was looking and said, "Oh, there's Srila Prabhupada." So we both turned around, we paid our obeisances, we saw Srila Prabhupada descending from the stairs outside of the building. Same vestibule that went up to his quarters from within the temple, there was a door that went outside as well. So Srila Prabhupada was coming down those stairs. He was surrounded by so many tall American sannyasis with their dandas and everything. Simultaneously, there's an alley just next to the temple there, and a limousine pulls up and stops there at the steps of Prabhupada's quarters. And Prabhupada very gracefully stepped into the car. Meanwhile, my godbrother told me, it's too bad we don't have any flowers, that we could offer something to Srila Prabhupada. Now, just as he mentioned the word flowers, my eyes fixed on some marigolds that were growing in that garden. And being only 15, you know exactly what I did. So I just went and grabbed a handful of those flowers and marched right up to the window of Srila Prabhupada's limousine, which was open because it was June. And I just reached in and held them there for Srila Prabhupada to take, which he did. And then the limousine just pulled off, and I don't know where they go. I never saw him again. That was the first direct service that I ever had to Srila Prabhupada, and the last time I saw him in this world. So, the next year he was planning to come to the United States also. His intention towards the end especially was that he was very, very much focused on establishing a varnashram culture within his society. And he said so many times. And he actually intended to come to settle at Gita Nagari for a good long time and actually train his disciples in the culture of Krishna consciousness, the traditional social structure of Vedic society, and in particular a simple agrarian based economic system. He wanted to teach us all these things. But it was not to be, because who knows why. But for whatever reason, Krishna didn't allow that to happen. He got as far as London, and then he had to go back to Vrindavan, and then he eventually left the world just a few months later. We know that history. But so I consider myself very fortunate that at least I got 1/11 of a second association with a pure devotee. And I hope and pray that maybe I can get all of that perfection sooner than later, and I humbly ask all of you to pray for me as well. But this is the only direct association that I had with Srila Prabhupada. What I can say, though, about this is that because my Krishna consciousness really was founded in the books that Srila Prabhupada worked very hard to translate and edit and comment on and publish and have his disciples distribute it. That's something that's an opportunity that's still open to all of us. So really everyone in this room can have the same experience that I had and have the same training that I had in Krishna consciousness, because it's all there in Srila Prabhupada's books. Of course, I have to admit that I was very soon after I actually joined, a few months later, that's another story, but I was on the Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party, and I was more or less personally trained by the late Tamal Krishna Goswami, who had probably had more personal association with Srila Prabhupada than anyone else in the movement. So that was my good fortune. But really, everything is in the books. Prabhupada told us that so many times. He said books are the basis, and that's a fairly reliable translation of what Vyasadeva had written in his Brahma Sutras. Shastra Yonidvat. The books are the basis. Everything comes from the books. So anything that we know, or anything that we need to know, or anything that we claim about Krishna consciousness, it always has to adhere in the books. Prabhupada so many times used to say that the real authority of this movement is these books. And so we should always be very conscious of our responsibility to, first of all, read those books and assimilate their content and then share it with others, but also to preserve those books, to make sure that the teachings do remain intact for the next at least 10,000 years and or more. And the books should always be very prominent. Recently I heard from Shrutikirti Prabhu that Srila Prabhupada always emphasized, from his experience he could say that Srila Prabhupada always emphasized that any program of Krishna consciousness should have these components. There should be Harinama Sankirtanam, chanting of the holy names as we were just doing. And there should be some pravachan, explanation of the science of Krishna consciousness based on his books. And the books should also be there. They should be exhibited, they should be distributed, they should be emphasized. This is the best way to keep Srila Prabhupada in the center, as we say, and it's really the future of our movement depends on the focus that we keep on Srila Prabhupada's books. Way back in 1980, the same godbrother who had called me up and invited me to see Srila Prabhupada and had sat with me when we saw Prabhupada and I could offer those flowers, he later published a book in which he interviewed 5 different scholars of religion from all over the world. Some were from America, some from Europe, some from Australia, some from India, including Sri Vatsa Goswami, who was the head priest of the Radhanaman temple in Vrindavan. So he asked them all the same questions, and one of those questions was, because the book was published only 3 years after Srila Prabhupada left the world, so the question was still in many people's minds. What do you see as the future of the Hare Krishna movement now that Srila Prabhupada is no longer physically present? All of them said exactly the same thing. They gave the same answer every time. As long as the initiated core members of this society are faithful to the practices and the teachings that Srila Prabhupada has given us, especially those in his books, then the future of the movement will remain bright forever and ever and ever. But as soon as we forget that, and as soon as we deviate from that, and as soon as we become neglectful of that, then there's no guarantee. So we always like to say that the Sankirtan movement will continue to spread, and that Krishna consciousness really cannot be stopped by anything external, and it's true, Srila Prabhupada did say that we still have the obligation to remain faithful ourselves and to be obedient disciples and strict practitioners of this great science. And well, here in New York City, I'll go back to 1976. Yeah, it was 76. Very soon after I joined, there was a court case because some disgruntled parents decided that the ISKCON Society was kidnapping impressionable young teenagers like me and brainwashing them. This was actually the charge that the prosecution had, brainwashing, a most unscientific term. But believe it or not, people were so ignorant in the 1970s of anything regarding Hinduism and Krishna consciousness in particular that they actually believed that. Many professional people, even judges passed the case in the favor of the prosecution. So the case made it to the Supreme Court here in New York. And I remember the devotees at that time, because I was in New York at that time, at least for a short while. But the devotees were all nervous about this because the Supreme Court and the big High Court judge, and no one in the movement was older than 25, practically speaking. So it was intimidating. But Srila Prabhupada was not intimidated. The more the challenge, the heavier the challenge was for Srila Prabhupada, the more enlivened he became, because he alone was able to see the tremendous opportunity for validating this sampradaya, this tradition of Krishna consciousness, and for establishing the credentials of ISKCON as a representative of that tradition. So do you know what he said? He said, you should do this. He gave it very clear instructions, and he was serious about it. He said, you should put a table in the courtroom, put all my books on top of that table, and enter this as Exhibit A. And anything the prosecution throws at you, you just select the books that are relevant and you read to them directly from the books. They will not be able to say anything. Of course, that requires what? That requires that we know where to find everything in these books. And what does that require? That requires that we read these books very faithfully every day as Srila Prabhupada ordered. This is what I'm talking about. We have to do this. No, cannot blame anybody else if we don't do these things. So, what happened? The devotees actually followed that instruction, and the judge just threw the case out of court. He said these people are bona fide. So many scholars also attested that this is an ancient tradition. It's not a newfangled cult of any sort. How did that happen? Only because of the books, and only because of the emphasis on Prabhupada's books. So this is something we can think about today, since we have this opportunity. And I guess it's time for me to stop here, but that's about all I had to say regarding my own personal experience with Srila Prabhupada. But maybe if anybody has a question or two, we can, Shuddha Bhakti Devi Dasi from Connecticut.
So who's your godbrother that called you?
Shubhananda. Yeah, I don't know, he's disappeared somewhere. But anyway, he was nice to me and I won't forget him.
Thank you.
Anything else? So if not, then do you want to do kirtan, right? 10 minutes kirtan we can do until 7:30, is that okay?
No.
Because I have to go.
Okay. Please join me in thanking the